Be Daniel Béranger, and he will speak about Entangle. He is a virtualization software guy, but today he will speak about a project more linked with his hobby, the photography. Let's applaud Daniel Béranger.
Hi, so as you just heard, I'm here to talk to you about a photography program that I work on in my spare time called Entangle. At its very simplest, this is basically just a way to control your digital camera from a laptop. And when I say digital camera, I typically mean an SLR camera. Nikon, Canon are the best supported. You used to be able to get some compact cameras that you could control from the computer, but the lovely people at Canon have seen fit to cripple their firmware so that you can no longer control it from the computer. So mostly SLR digital cameras are what this program works with. Come on. I'm sorry, technical trouble. That's okay. So, what I consider the four main usage scenarios for this program are. The first one, the reason why I started developing it was to be able to do macro photography at home. If you're at all familiar with macro photography, you'll know that one of the challenges is getting the focus point just right, because you've got a very narrow field of focus. And if you're looking at the back of your camera on the little LCD screen, it's quite hard to tell whether you've done that right or not. So it's much easier if you can have your images immediately displayed on your huge laptop screen or desktop screen, so you can see the focus point and judge it straight away. The second scenario, studio model photography. This was something I saw in a photography club that I belonged to. They were doing a live model shoot on stage with an equivalent program to this, so you could see the shots as they were taking them. Since I started writing this program, to my surprise, I got a number of people turning up and saying that they're using it to do stop-motion animation. So that's one useful use case you can have. And finally, astrophotography. I've just recently started doing a bit of astrophotography. And again, it's useful because you want to be able to see the images you're taking on a big screen. Because when you're taking pictures of the night sky, the stars are a tiny little spot on the night, on your image. And so it's going to take, you're not going to be able to see the stars on the little LCD screen on the back of your camera. So it's nice to have your image displayed on a big screen right away. So the core capabilities of the program. Start off with, if you've got your camera connected to the laptop via a USB cable, you press the shutter on the camera and the image immediately downloads to the laptop and gets displayed. But you can also trigger the shutter directly from the laptop. You can turn on the live preview mode if your camera supports that. So you see a continuously refreshing view of what your camera sees at, I don't know, 15 frames a second, basically as fast as the camera will download the images, will display it on the screen. You can control a variety of the camera settings. This kind of depends on what camera you've got, but on a decent quality SLR camera from Canon or Nikon, you can basically control every possible setting from the laptop. Being a photography program, color management is of course important. So this has color management built in. And again, of course, we support all the various raw file formats the cameras produce. This monitor is getting very annoying, but it'll come back in a second, I hope. architecture. The program is kind of, I'll carry on talking anyway. The program is split into kind of two separate pieces. What I call the back end, which is all the interaction with the camera. This uses libgphoto, which is an open source library for controlling digital cameras. So that does all the guts of the communication with the camera. GDK Pixbuff is a library I use for just manipulating the images we download. LCMS is a library I use for doing the color management stuff. And GExiv, which is a library for extracting metadata from image files. And finally, libraw for processing all the raw files you download off the camera. Then the second part of the code base is what I call the front end. And at the moment, this is a GTK3 desktop application. The reason, as you might imagine, for doing the split between the back end and the front end is that eventually there will be multiple front ends. The one that I've got in mind as the second alternative would be a GIMP plugin. So you could take shots directly from GIMP and have them download straight into your image editing program. I'll carry on talking anyway. In the front end, it makes use of recent features in GTK, and more specifically in GObject. It uses something called GObject introspection, which is a way of taking C code and accessing it from more or less any dynamic language that you might care to use. So you can access all the C APIs from JavaScript, Perl, Python, and a handful of others. So we make use of this technology to allow you to write plugins for the application. So end users can customize the graphical display and set up scripting of the UI or any kind of fancy features they might wish to have. So the programs that I've been working on the program on and off for a couple of years, but it's still, the functionality is at a fairly basic level, and there's a bunch of ideas I've got for things that I'd like to work on. These things are ideas for plugins that I'd like to write. If you've used digital cameras, you'll know there's most of them have a feature called auto bracketing. So I'd like to be able to do a similar kind of thing from the laptop, but not just restricted to bracketing the exposure values. You could bracket the ISO sensitivity, or the aperture of the camera, or even bracket different flash power levels, or even some combination of all 3 or 4 of the different settings there. Another plugin I'd like to write to help in the macro world is something to do focus stacking, and this is an idea where you take a series of macro images and tune the focus point to a different focal distance between each shot, and then you can combine all these images in GIMP afterwards to create one which has a really wide depth of field to it that you wouldn't be able to get with a single shot. And the last idea I've got there is kind of a batch mode, which is to just take a whole series of shots, timed exposures, a timed gap between each shot. This is kind of a useful thing you need to do if you're doing astrophotography, and you want to take 100 shots spread over the course of an hour or two. On the UI side of things, I mentioned a few minutes ago I'd like to be able to write a GIMP plugin for controlling the camera directly from GIMP. The camera support so far is all done over USB, mostly because that's the type of camera that I've got, is a USB controlled one, but some of the newer Nikon and Canon SLRs have the ability to control them directly over Wi-Fi using IP, so it'd be nice to have support for making those work. And I'd like to do a bit of user interface simplification and customization work on the program, because if we get to see a demo in a second, you'll see some of the UI bits are suboptimal. So let's see if a demo is actually going to work. The projector is being a bit cursed, but you never know. We'll give it a go. Let's come on. Two monitors. No, not two monitors. Well, this is, let me see if I can get it up in mirrored. Although it's not going to mirror unless it actually detects both of them. How are we doing on time?
5 minutes.
It's not even detecting the second monitor with this cable. Oh well, looks like you don't get to have a live demo, but what I can say is we've got a website called Entangle Photo. That's entangle-photo.org. On the website, you'll find a link to the mailing lists. You'll find a link to the Git code repository. We've got a different cable.
It's not on the video.
It's let's see if we can get it working in mirrored mode.
Showing that need a low resolution.
Oh well, that's no. I'll just say, go to the website, entangle-photo.org. You'll see a bunch of screenshots of the program. You'll find links to the code. If you're using Fedora or Ubuntu or Debian, you can, the software's already in the repositories there, so you can just install it and try it out with your digital cameras. Sorry you don't get to see a live demo, but this projector setup is just being mental. Thank you very much, and if you've got any questions, shout them out.
We have a question here.
So you said the main interface for interfacing with the cameras is over USB.
Yeah.
With like Android phones and PTP, is that enough to be able to use those with Entangle or not?
It uses libgphoto, and libgphoto speaks the PTP protocol. So if I don't know if Android devices expose their camera feature as PTP, but if they did, then in theory that would work with libgphoto.
Cool, I'll try that
with
then.
Entangle.
Okay, thanks.
Another question? Okay, thank you for your talks.
Well, thank you very much.
We have a reward for you.